Welcome back to enLIGHTenUP for episode 74. Corrupt platforms will fail. Ascension versus 5G networks and the purpose of duality with MARINA JACOBI. We welcome Marina back to the show, and she has a lot of new information to share with us. She has some warnings from the ET races to those who are facilitating corrupt action on this planet. What does she have to say and share with us about that? There are going to be a couple of predictions about world events, and we're going to talk about the 30-year plan that brings us into 5D Earth. We're also going to talk about some material within vaccines. We're also going to talk about how to communicate with ETs because Brian wants to communicate with one. So what does he need to do? What does he not have to do? The energy waves that have been coming into the planet have been really intense and they are not letting up. Why is that, and what are they bringing for us? What is the purpose of these energy waves? We're going to get into that information, and we're also going to talk about 5G, those towers going up. Many of us are worried about what that means for our health, but how does Ascension intervene? What is the purpose there? It's very interesting. And we're also going to talk about the purpose of duality. How does the purpose of duality match creation, our ability to create? We're going to get into all of that into this episode, so let's jump in and find out what Marina has to share with us. Hi everyone, welcome back to enLIGHTenUP. I am here with Lisa and Brian, and today we are joined again by Marina JACOBI. She is the author of the books The Harmonic Reactor and Nanotechnology, and is merging quantum physics with the law of attraction. She practices energy philanthropy, a fifth dimensional practice for abundance using quantum manifestation. She has incredible teachings based in humanitarianism that many of us looking to move through the ascension process can benefit from. And she's also recently received more information from the Council of Nine, whom she channels. So we're excited to get some more information. Marina, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, thank you so much, Nicole and Brian. Everybody else, thank you. And Lisa, thank you so much for having me back. It's very exciting to be here.
Yeah, we love your stuff. Like Lisa and I really resonate. We were just actually talking about you yesterday.
Oh, I'm popular.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about your teachings of living from the heart structure and how that applies to business and offering healings and things like that. And just the more it comes up, the more we realize it's easier. Well, we're just realizing certain things we're not in alignment with, and not that it's judging anyone or anything, but it's just really interesting to pick it up and see it.
Well, are you asking for the new information that is coming, or?
Well, we'd love to hear some of the new information because I know you've got so much.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that is exactly in details. Usually when things are given is given on end results, or lately, to be honest, it's been like a warnings. Because I guess the groups that I'm involved, as you know, I'm not involved only with the Council of Nine, but also with the ET groups, and so whoever is working above is literally telling me sometimes messages, and I post it. I remember the day before, one of the days like a month ago, was a very strong message of absolute warning. And I'm quoting, was not to try to impeach the head of the state because they're going to be stopped in every corner. It will not work. And it was a very, very strong message. Was almost sounded like an anger. I have it posted actually on my Facebook and on my, webinars. I talk about it. And of course, it made some people upset, but I'm not here to pick a sides. I'm here to just present the information. Because no matter how well somebody is doing, somebody can always get in corruption. So I just keep it the faith that whatever is happening right now is in a benefit for humanity, because what they said is that we already ascended, we just experienced the ascension process. So that means that no matter what, if one fails at their task, will be definitely replaced with some other platform that needs to complete, because consciousness itself is ascending. It will sabotage any platform that is not resonating in an ascension process through synchronicities and different situations basically will happen to these people that they're going to be stopped in every corner, and you're never going to know how they're going to be stopped. Even they don't know how, because there's an infinite of probabilities in the structure. So basically this, what's happening here with going after each other and all this stuff. Some of these people have gone into so much darkness that it's simply impossible to see what is really going on, to see that they're part of creation also. There's and they're going against their own creation, basically. That's what's really happening. And you're not allowed to do that from creation itself, because when it's off balance, you can't simply, creation has to balance itself, cannot destroy itself. And since you're part of that consciousness, you can't go against yourself. You're going to be given lessons and platforms to learn realities, timelines to experience, but in no circumstances you're going to be allowed to keep destroying, because even you have to survive through creation. So this is basically one of the stuff that happened. Then when Judge Kavanaugh was, all the stuff that was happening with him, they posted out of the blue, they posted victory, that he will win. And I don't say stuff publicly, depending on the situation. And I may post something, but it's always half of the information, because, I don't want to sway people or something, but I just giving the information, whatever is necessary. So for him, I put like victory or winning or something like that way ahead of time. So some of the people got it, what I was trying to say. And again, because anybody that is in a positive structure and it works in the name of humanity, not only that it's going to be helped, but they're resonating with a new frequency that is coming for fifth dimensional structure, matching that timeline, and it's basically going to speed up everything in the realities, and eventually it's going to have a positive outcome. So right now is basically a big chopping block. What they told me the other day that was basically like they are not, and I'm quoting, they're not willing to stop. And they said we're mobilized and it will be dealt with. Basically, they have to. They said it's like a absolute battle, and they said battle is going on to that point, because they became so delusional in their own illusion that they cannot really see it. They don't stop, and they're basically gonna fight to the end, because they got so deeper that they cannot see what they're doing.
And when you're saying you're talking about the Council of
The ET
Nine?
races, no, the extraterrestrial races, and the Council of Nine is part of it. But this was coming from all of them, all that information. I literally stopped asking who is telling me stuff anymore, because it just depending on the situation could be somebody else, and I just get the information and run with it.
So basically what you're saying is that anyone on the planet who is trying to work against humanity in whatever format that is, that it's going to be stopped in one way or another. And no matter how many times it's attempted, it's going to be disabled, because the ascension process has already happened and we're just living through it now.
Yes. And because this is coming also to consciousness and the quantum structure itself. Every single person, even the negative people, whoever went into darkness, they also exist in every single parallel reality of a timeline. They don't have only Earth plane of existence. They could have a Pleiadian, or they could have something else, and they completely got into manipulation for some way or another, because some of these people that were manipulated, their family were threatened, and who knows what else is happening. So never put a judgment without knowing the whole story. Just go through the process and keep it in the heart and do anything possible. And because everybody is existing even in every single timeline to infinite, their higher self actually with their guidance is going to sabotage their own platform. because they want to preserve itself, and whoever really doesn't get it, they're going to have to go to beginning of recycling, basically back to the one particle of splitting, and they have to start learning from the beginning. And of course, you don't want to do that, because then you have to start from ground zero, instead of ascending through the platforms. So that's why is actually, when you look at the whole situation, is laughable, because if you really, really know how consciousness works and what really is happening, you realize in the end that you're going against your own creation, and you cannot do that. You're going to be recycled no matter what you're trying to do. And that will be to infinite. So what we don't know is how this is going to play out, and who is going to be the player, when, and how. And that's why they give in always the end results, but I cannot tell you who is the person, how is done. And I know that they're very strict, and I know that they really, when it comes to stopping, I think blood is going to be shed on the ground for stuff. I'm not told exactly who is involved, how they're involved. Anybody that is in a deep state or MK Ultra, whatever they're doing, I'm never ever given information. Is absolutely black for me. What's
Probably
happening.
best for you in your protection.
Yeah, probably because of protection for me. But I don't know anything off planet with the dark side and stuff like this. Completely shut it down. Everything with me is what's happening, what they're trying to do, quantum structure, how you can shift the timelines, because the weaponry for you, how to actually escape this nonsense, is basically you shifting your timelines, but knowing how to actually create your own reality for yourself. And that is actually the biggest knowledge that we can gain. So now you are your own creation, and now you see behind the veil, and you can choose what your reality should be, instead of just watching whatever somebody is telling you that is true. You can create your own. And again, don't judge whatever you see. Understand that every single soul is through their process of awakening. It doesn't matter if they get it or not. Keep it up with the positive, because what you need to do is stay on the frequency of vibration of fifth dimensional structure. And that does not include ego and manipulation. You just know how it is. We're definitely going through the process, and everything we need to do is to hold the vibration of forgiveness, understanding through a higher point, and give through the heart, and help each other, and do anything possible in the name of humanity, because that is the vibrational sequence that is shifting you to the other channel.
Now, when you got this information, and we talk about Ascension, this started in 2012, and you've mentioned that there's
started in 2010.
Oh, it started in 2010?
2010, I was prep, but 2012 was some kind of a shift.
And it's like a 30-year timeline for Earth?
30-year span of we doing all the changes, basically. Within the frame of this 30 years, you're going to see everything that is happening to change the whole planet into the fifth dimensional structure, and be prepped for fifth dimensional structure. Basically, you're going to have collapse of systems, replacements, or somebody that was in a negative realized completely what happened and said, oh my God, what am I doing? Let me just try to do something positive. And I can give you an example. Just recently was a very high, I was told the story from somebody that very high-end banker from Europe almost died, ended up in a coma. And during coma, he ended up meeting his higher self and ETs or guidance, and they totally told him what's really going on and what's happening here. He was so embarrassed, decided to come back. So he came back, and the mission was to start giving money to people that are really in the name of humanity because of what's happening. And this is what's going on right now. Consciousness itself is going to actually go into hit every single probability and person that is possible in order to preserve itself. So this is because you know that when you're in the high places, who knows how many manipulations you've been doing and who is connected to whom. So to these people is going to be given the chance to redeem themselves and really do something positive.
So on another timeline, it could be playing out a different way, though, correct? Depending on...
absolutely. That's right. Basically, we're talking here fifth-dimensional ascension protocol. And yet, at the same time, you have simultaneous reality with three-dimensional that everything went in down a hill. If you'd like to see the positive outcome, you have to resonate in that frequency. That means you have to act, think, do anything possible to stay on that resonance to catch the wave of that frequency. We're talking about channels here, switching the channels. Think of TV. Channel 3 and channel 5. For channel 5, the remote control has different frequency to get to channel 5. But you do that, if you're the remote control, you do that with the vibration of your body, thoughts, emotions, and deeds.
So, like for myself and Brian, we don't watch TV or pay attention to the news unless somebody we know happens to tell us something, or just if it somehow funnels its way to us, but we're not in search of what's going on with anything. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think, well, that's the best place to be because I'm not putting any energy towards anything. Like, I don't even know what's going on, nor do I care.
Well, I would say that if you're staying a positive, there are some alternative media channels that are posting what is really happening. Sometimes I tune in into some of them, or I watch some of them. If you go to the Harmonic Reactor on my YouTube channel and all the channels that I sign in, just go through it and you're going to see what I really listen to. And I pop in and out once in a while, but what's happening, I'm comparing what I got. Sometimes I get information ahead of time of something happening, whatever happened in New York with the bombing. I know more about it, but I don't want to discuss it. Basically, there will be retaliation from the positive side because some people need to get the message that I'm quoting, "We know where you are. We know who you are. Is nowhere to hide." And I'm quote.
I know that you've been posting. Well, I know that you, in your last webinar, you were talking a bit about vaccines, and there was a woman that you had watched who's like a whistleblower on vaccines. Mm-hmm. And what other stuff other than other than some of the stuff that we know of, like the metals that they have in the vaccines, what are some of the other things that aren't really talked about or known as much that are being put into these vaccines to impair the health and consciousness of people?
I posted that in a video. I'm gonna have my third book coming very soon, and this is all the messages from the guidance. It's a nanomaterial. It's a nanomaterial that is embedded in the DNA, completely reconstructing the DNA structure, and it was designed to basically completely change everything, so you have difficult time or stop you from Ascension protocol.
And that's currently still in the vaccines?
I believe so, yes. That's why you should be very cautious of how you're doing it, what you're doing. Watch the movie Vaxxed, VAXXED, and there's a lot of information there. So I don't want to tell people what to do. They have to make decisions for their own children, but just have the information, do your research, because it's a lot more there than you think.
Is that the same things being used in the flu vaccinations?
All of them. There's no separation.
Yeah, Lisa and I are both of the same mind of we're anti-vaccine.
Yeah, I'm anti-vaccine.
No, I'm not saying that you cannot vaccinate somebody with protection for something, but most of the stuff, the way I think was Judy Markowitz or something like that. If you watch my webinar, you're going to see who I was referring to. And I also show a picture of her by sharing the screen. she discussed that it was linked from all the labs of all of it, including HIV, everything. And that's why they went after her, because she proved that this is totally coming from all the testing. It was designed to completely do this manipulation, the agenda.
So HIV was passed on through vaccines?
Yeah, through labs. No, not through vaccines. I'm not sure if through vaccines, but what she said was it came from the labs of mice, all the experiments that they were doing.
Oh, I see what you're
It
saying.
was basically, I don't know what happened, but I'm sure something happened that somebody leaked it into the public.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because don't forget how many people died from that, and most of them were basically the other gender.
Bless you, Brian.
I tried to get to the mute button, but I couldn't get to it in time. Sorry.
You know, Marina, since you've last been on, actually, this is very recent, Brian has had a very interesting interaction with an ET, and he's trying to set up his...
Do tell.
Well, no, you
haven't had it yet.
No, but you did, because you heard the sound.
I did hear the sound, but I haven't had the interaction yet. But he's expressed interest in hanging out with me,
eating bacon and drinking beer.
Yep.
Well, the frequency.
Yeah. That's another one. That's another topic, and for switching realities through bilocation, you need a specific resonance.
So how would Brian go about that if he were wanting to connect with, because it's a mantis being, and if he were really wanting to change his frequency so that he could have that interaction?
No, he doesn't have to change we're talking bilocation here.
Okay.
He just have to stay in the heart, because remember, negative entity cannot hold the vibration of positive if you continue doing it. And yet I know there's a lot of manipulation in the structure and taking over consciousness, but I think we pass the moment for that, because the people that have to really do a lot of stuff, they're always being protected from higher self, ETs, because it's so important. And I certainly would not have come here in a lion's den without any armor.
So it's all about just maintaining like that.
It's all about
frequency.
maintaining, yes.
Being positive.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
I always am.
Give love.
Yeah. Kind to other people and never to think that we know more than them. I got a hard lesson with that one. Not a hard lesson, but I was warned about that. And it was very innocent, but I was worried, oh my God, what is this person saying? Doesn't make sense. We're the people that know what they're doing, and they put me in my place and they said, how dare you? You're not more than this person. Even if you don't understand what he's saying, because I was concerned that I was after that presenter and I'm going, oh my God, I'm after this presenter. I cannot even understand what he's talking about. And imagine I'm going to look like I'm professional. And they literally stopped me right on my tracks. And they told me, we don't care how many people you're going to talk to. Even if it's a one person, they said you're going to do the best of yourself, of the best of your abilities. Because even that one person is your entire universe in the now. That's all exists. And depending on how you behave towards that person, this is the frequency that you send in your quantum field. And based on that, your next momentum of holographic image of Earth that you're shifting is that. So I've learned the quantum structure with that, the way they taught me, because what I was doing. And that was not intentional, but I was put back in my place.
It sounds more of self-doubt that you were having than judging someone else.
I don't know. I think was more of it, oh my God, what is this guy talking about? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense what he's saying. And I'm going to look complete and professional, because if he doesn't know, then people may say, I don't want to listen to her. Look at who they have in the show. That's just how I was looking at it. You know?
I see.
But yeah, that was based on, I was judging him what he was saying and all this stuff. And I didn't know how to approach this. So I'm learning through the process. When I'm hit hard.
I feel like I'm going through something right now myself. I feel like I'm going through a major lesson, and I feel like
So they said that's what I was told. I'm gonna say 2020 Trump is winning, and I hope
Oh,
that
sweet
he
Jesus.
stays on a frequency. So we see that coming. Then they are talking Republicans are winning the House. I hope that this stays on a frequency and somebody doesn't manipulate something. Because after that, I'm sure we're going to have indictments.
yeah, arrests, major arrests.
Yeah, because I heard from, I think, Simon Parks and a lot of links that I've listened to that there are more than 60,000 indictments into American government. You have no idea the mass amount of corruption that is. I mean, that means every level of government, police, lawyers, doctors, anything that you can think of. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unprecedented in our history to ever have that many sealed indictments.
This was shocking. I didn't expect that much, but you can imagine what's really going on. Apparently, if you're not really, I guess, with them, you can't even get ahead. So you have to be part of that in order to be put in the top places. Yeah.
So the Council of Nine or the ETs or whomever it is that's speaking to you at the time keeps you updated on political affairs?
Yeah, that was shocking because I didn't expect that. I started this like 2 years ago when all of a sudden they talk about portals. We open up a portals, and it was shocking because they were naming portals and they were saying that the grid was down and it started with the portals. I kept all that on my, from Matt McElroy. All my postings are on my website that are basically electronic postings. You can see, all the messages. Plus, the third book is coming. It's going to be all there with the messages. But basically, they were opening the portals, and they literally end up saying the third day we were talking about portals. It was about people moving through certain consciousness in a higher level. Your consciousness is moving through the portals. But somebody tried to sabotage the portal, and they literally call it in, and all of a sudden information stopped coming, what they were trying to do. They were giving warnings. Especially when they were trying to do impeachment, all of a sudden it happened like you are not allowed to meddle with a state of affairs. Impeachment is not allowed. Basically because of so much manipulation. And again, I'm not picking sides. I'm just seeing what's happening behind the scenes because of what I was told. Because anybody that is hopefully everybody stays in the highest in their heart and don't get corrupted. That's what I'm saying. I'm just open-minded, and I know the end result for the positive humanity. How it's going to happen, I have no idea. So when something happens, it could come very strong message of a warning, and they're telling me exactly the stuff that happened in New York City, I knew the night before. And they said to me, it's a warning. They said to me, it's a warning, stay home. And sure enough, this happened in New York City. And I knew that was all this played out. And keep in mind who are the people that got all the bombing and stuff like that, So it's a lot going on behind the scenes. And I appreciate the white hats in the government that going through so much stuff in the name of humanity. Just unbelievable. I mean, blood is shed in there. I got to tell you that one.
Yeah, well, this corruption didn't just start a few years ago. It's been going
on.
No,
this is centuries. This is centuries and centuries. This is a very long history. Our history is being completely manipulated. To be honest, I stopped reading some of the history because I realized how manipulated and how many lies are there, to the point that I don't know what is true anymore, except I'm listening to them. And finally, when we have a contact, somehow we're going to be able to be shown and everything else, how everything happened, because it's so much lies and manipulation.
And that's, I think, the hardest part, is that there are so many lies, there's so much disinformation. It's really hard to know what's true and what's not.
That's right. From that's why. That's why when they say something, I'm listening, and immediately I'm going to find something, or the next day something will happen exactly the way they told me.
Well, you've also been talking a lot about sound frequency and how that um, creates like this whirlpool like structure, and that when we combine like our thoughts and actions, we create portals in our
Yeah.
timeline and hologram. Is that like the same as zero pointing energy, or is that different?
Well, that is the 0 point in energy is coming every moment to moment. Remember, everything is fractal. Moment to moment, you shift into a new hologram of Earth and a new hologram of Earth, and you're reprinting every consciousness in it because you want to do that. So you can have a continuum momentum of experience. Otherwise, if not, you're going to pop onto a completely different reality and you're going to say, what happened here? Why am I here? What's going on here? So you need to have structure with that. So yes, 0 point is every moment to moment because you need to construct it, rebuild it, and zoom another one and another one and another one and another one. It's in and out. It's like a breathing, constant breathing, in and out.
What's this whirlpool structure that you're talking about that is from sound?
Well, it's the vibration of your words. The words, they're constructed in a certain sound. And yet, depending of the meaning and how you being taught is actually creating this structure. So if you say apple, in another reality, apple could mean something completely different. And then based on your belief system, you're creating this whirlpool into it. So each reality for itself has its own sound vibrational sequences depending on the thoughts and the way you were taught. This is what is the difference here, because a lot of the light language is being lost because they know that if you know how to pronounce it, which is creation of sounds and structures through geometry, which is higher consciousness words, is being manipulated. If you watch David Wynn-Miller Quantum Law, you will learn a lot about this stuff. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely dissolving. When you quantumize everything, you dissolve in all the law and you realize it is complete manipulation. Or you listen to Sasha Stone, B-I-B-I, interview, and she talks about how she was basically one of the most successful real estate agent in New York. She was doing very well. And they literally took her property, put her in jail, and she wanted to know how in the world this happened when she never did anything wrong. And then she realized, she started studying everything. She realized how everything works. So I strongly suggest you guys watch this video because it's fundamental information for that.
When you say I'm confused. Like when you say that she was put in jail, like what was she put in jail for?
For basically, they accuse her of some kind of a tax fraud or something like this, which never happened.
And what was the purpose of setting her up or wrongly convicting her?
To get her funds, to deplete her of her funds. And that's what they've been doing. If you go to International Tribunal, that's also on my channels that I like. Scroll down. My YouTube channel is The Harmonic Reactor. And you go into channels. Scroll down and you're going to see like an infinite sign, and it's the International Tribunal. It's testimony after testimony for people that are very wealthy, very put on, that their fortunes are being taken through absolute illegal action and bullied, and their funds are still into certain accounts without being released, even when they prove 100% that it's manipulation. So this is created from judges and people that basically are created something international. So they start exposing all the corruption. And you have doctors' testimonials, you have child trafficking testimonials, people that being put, and trust me, one of the person there was from Hollywood, and they were talking about Hollywood. It's a lot of information in there, and this is not to scare everybody. This is how you see how it's basically the whole situation is becoming more and more, collapsing. It's collapsing from within.
So
Because
I'm
people
sorry,
are
Marina,
standing
if I
up.
can just interrupt you for a second.
Mhm.
So when you say they, because I think a lot of this is probably it's over my head and over some of our listeners. When you say they, like they are taking people's funds, or who are you referring to?
Referring to elite and the cabal, the Illuminati. And there are certain groups of Illuminati. I'm not familiar too much with it. I know that some of them do not like, that's what I was told, but I'm not familiar. I don't work. I don't go deeper into that. I just listen to the testimonials. And there's another person to look into is Ronald Bernard. He's also in that tribunal. And this is a Dutch banker. He talks a lot about his experience in the deep state and what's really happening. If you listen to those two videos about Sasha Stone and Bibi, and Ronald Bernard, international Dutch banker, talks about Illuminati, trust me, you're going to find a lot of information that is going to be beneficial to bypass all that other manipulation of propaganda that is happening.
How does it help you bypass the propaganda?
Because you're going to realize exactly how everything worked and not be manipulated to some kind of a video there that they say is something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another video is Secret Societies, and it's Diaboli Ordinari. That's another one you need to watch.
Well, I do think it's important to be aware. Definitely, that
awareness
you
is
have
number
to be.
one.
You have to be aware that there is, an Illuminati and the deep state, and that things are happening, because then it definitely allows you to see the world with different eyes.
That's right. And not only this, but you're going to wake up, and after you wake up, don't go into fear. Understand that this is an ascension process. You're already free. You just experience, but you need to see through the veil. Once you see through the veil, study the quantum manifestation series so you know how to deconstruct your reality, and nobody can manipulate you. There's no fear here. This is not mentioned to be in fear. Actually, you should be liberated because you know the truth now. Well, what can I do to change it? We switch your timelines. How do I do that? Study the quantum manifestation series. I post it for free for the entire humanity. This is not about the money. I'm doing my job the way I was told. And you will see once you start studying step by step how all this is possible. But in order for you to understand that, you have to study it. You have to really look into it. You don't have to believe me. Just give it a chance.
And so I'm curious, Marina, just to kind of switch gears here, there's been, through this whole ascension process, as we're kind of living it out, there's so much going on the physical level in our bodies and things that we're experiencing emotionally, things coming up. And people talk about energy waves coming in. What information do you have in regards to that?
Very interesting. Thank you. Good question. Well, recently the new energy waves are coming, and they're completely changing the photons in your DNA structure. I said that since the beginning because it's holding the frequency to basically awaken you to start asking a lot of questions, and actually will give you situations for you to start taking a lot of action in order to go towards ascension protocol. Also, they told me, I posted also, that was also posted in information that, how they were spraying with a lot of chemtrails and all the stuff. What they said that they were actually laughing, and they said that they don't realize that all that new energy, that new wave that is coming of frequency and light is actually transforming the nanoparticles into a positive, including for the 5G that was coming. It will be basically doing the same thing. They're not going to be able to implement it because the 5G was made to be a unseen grid again. Second grid, the way we had before, was basically destroyed. So we're not going to be able to awaken and ascend through the protocol. And this is also not a battle that is going on.
Yeah, I saw your post on the 5G and thought that was very interesting, because we had someone on a couple months ago, I think, and we were talking about the 5G and how destructive that system is to our health. And so when I saw your post that it's actually getting deactivated, or
what's going to happen, your body is going to be able to handle whatever is happening. And the other side, there will be something happening that no matter what, again, they're trying to do, is not going to work in the end. I don't know how, because consciousness is ascending, cannot allow anymore to continue.
So basically, as the light comes in, the energy, it's changing our DNA so much and upgrading us that we'll be able to withstand the energy that this 5G system is trying to.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why I'm not in fear, because I understand. And if nobody believes me, I know some of the people that are totally into the dark and they're talking about off planet and AI and stuff like this. They never heard that material that I have, or are so much into this conspiracy stuff going on that they don't even see what's happening. And this is not apples and oranges I'm talking about here. We have to be very clear what's really going on. I never said that it's only positive. Consciousness has both sides, but it has to be balanced. And if you want to experience sometimes something negative and what is a war, then you go ahead and experience this type of a lifetime. Nothing is wrong with that. You learn from it, you grow from it, and you know that never to do that. The reason why you need to know positive and negative, because you need to be a master creator. How are you going to be able to create when you don't know how much of what you need to mix into quantum structure in order to create proper reality by your choosing? So that's why it's so important to go through all this stuff. You would never know how to do that if you never experienced the negative side. So we all learning here. This is a master school. We're graduating. So it's nothing to be fear of and, oh my God, we'll be taking over. Actually, what's happening here, if you don't know the stuff I'm talking about, you can go in so much fear that you're going to create a reality for yourself. You don't have to go in bunkers to hide. You actually shift in timelines. And that's another knowledge. Open up, look at it, and see what you can do with it.
You said something about the 5G grid will basically be disabled or won't work the way they wanted it to, just like the first grid. What did you mean by the first time, or the first grid?
The first grid was around the planet. We had a grid. Yeah, if you remember Star Wars, I think the last one had a grid around the planet, and they tried to send the signal from below the planet to get out to the mothership of the good guys. Well, they couldn't do that until they destroyed the grid. Imagine a signal coming through. Well, how do you want to send properly through frequency and consciousness when you have a grid that is zapping you and you basically recycle back? This is what we have around. We had a grid.
So when you say recycle back, is that part of the recycling of souls that continues to happen over and over and over again?
Yeah, that was the stuff, because somebody needed to keep you in a timeline of negativity, because you became like a living battery for them. The way the Matrix was. Your battery is your emotion, thoughts, and deeds, and that's how you were enslaving humanity, because the negative consciousness cannot exist in positive structures, because their own molecular structure does not hold this frequency. So in order for them to exist, they have to create a timelines of reality that's artificial and based on fear, because it's based on that frequency. So if they can survive in this type of platforms, they need somebody to be enslaved to work for them so they can do whatever they want. So this is exactly what happened.
And when you say they, I know before you were talking about the Illuminati and the deep state.
Yes, I'm talking about the elite and all the groups. I don't know who they are exactly.
So the elite, the Illuminati, these are actual humans that are creating these grids around the earth?
No, I think it was not only the humans. I also think was connected with non-benevolent extraterrestrials.
So the the elite and the Illuminati are working with extraterrestrials to make all this happen?
I must say that they were, and I think certain groups were realized what was happening and backed off. So what happened, the groups that stay here as basically our elite, that we have here, were so delusional that they don't want to stop the battle. And I think this is one of the reasons. I'm not very familiar deep into this stuff because I try to stay away from all the stuff. I just knew what they telling me once in a while because I don't work in this level.
Yeah, and from what I understand, like the more negative, malevolent ETs believe, I guess from when the Anunnaki came, that humans are, I guess, from them or a part of them, and so they feel like there's some sort of ownership over humans.
Well, I can tell you, they gave me this is again in my messages, is going to come in a book, that we were made from extraterrestrial races, genetically made. And originally we had to go normal ascension process. You raise the frequency of the body, the consciousness, and you basically shift and bilocate to new reality. You don't have to have a death, like that. But basically when a negative structure realized that this is happening, they came in, overtook, sabotage, and took humanity, and we became like a prison planet.
And when you talk about the grid, the first grid, was that okay? Is 5G coming in because our consciousness has been raising, and the light workers have been breaking it down? And
okay, that's why.
All right, so the 5G was to kind of counteract what the light workers here are doing and reestablishing the divine blueprint.
That's right, but it's not going to work in the end. I don't know how, but they told me it's going to be sabotage. Something is going to happen. I cannot tell you what.
Interesting. All right, that actually I learned something, because I wasn't sure what the whole purpose was, but now that makes sense. Very cool. So these energy waves that are coming in now, a lot of people are struggling with different physical symptoms. Like I know for myself, I've gone through some weird stuff that I haven't really experienced before. Like lots of sinus congestion that I never have, or like people are having insomnia, or there's like really sudden headaches coming in. Can you explain the phenomena of that a little bit from?
Well, thanks for the question. This could be in the individual basis. I don't want everybody to take it as a literal that this is exactly what happened. For some people, could be complete upgrade. For some people, could be they really the body is deteriorating, and all that needs to happen so they can choose to take action to cleanse and to do the detox, so they can start revamping their energetic fields. And for some people could be an absolute learning process. And this is all under the umbrella of Ascension, because everybody's in a different level of understanding, and that doesn't mean that they're not going to make it. You could be a very, very nice person, and you could be really, really sick, and you can perceive a situation that you're going to get so sick to the point that you really got to do something about it now, because you've been eating GMO or all this stuff. So it will depend on the person itself.
Yeah, sometimes these major illnesses happen to shock us out of old patterns that aren't helping us.
Because it's going to make you do your own research. It's going to see if people listen to watch Seeds of Death. It's going to talk to you about the GMO. Watch Earthlings, about the animals. What they do with the animals. Vaxxed, VAXXED, about the vaccines. Watch The Truth About Cancer. This lovely couple, Ty Tallinger, he is discover so many. If you watch his videos, go on YouTube and see some stuff, and I think you can buy his books and stuff. There's so much information of doctors, the have information of how you can detox, cure cancer, testimonies after testimonies from doctor. Watch Dr. Brzezinski's story because he knows how to cure very severe cancer and how many years they went after him. So my point here is that you need to be advocate for your own body and you need to do your research. Watch on YouTube how to reverse diabetics in 30 days. And there's a Tree of Life medical clinic in Arizona with doctors, and they were reversing diabetics in 30 days only through diet and raw food. It's phenomenal. And you'll be in through supervision. I mean, everything is possible. You can learn about Akahi Ricardo for breatharianism, distilled water. Then you can learn about distilled water. How the fact that I knew about the distilled water is because my guidance told me to move to distilled water. I panicked. I even called a homeopathic doctor. He was completely disagree with me. But I started doing the research because they never lied to me. And sure enough, I found a person on YouTube that was talking about distilled water and was phenomenal information. It was exactly what they were telling me. And what they were telling me, my guidance, was that distilled water has a negative charge. And when you drink it, it takes all these chemicals out of the body. It's like cleaning pipes. And if you drink distilled water, this is not for diabetics, by the way. Diabetics is tricky. You gotta need doctor supervision if you do any detox. Gotta go through doctor supervision because they told me it fluctuates so much. So if you're not diabetic, you can try that and put on 3 days on distilled water. They said it is releasing the free radicals from the body and is literally going after every single cell and negative structure into your body. So, or going to fasting, look into fasting, learn all this stuff, how the system is shutting down every single thing and is basically starting to preserve itself. Because you have to understand that our body is a vessel of frequency, sound, vibration. And because of that, you are actually energetic field, which is very dense magnetic and gravitational field, and it feels like a matter. So if you know how to manipulate that and how to do that, your body can absolutely heal itself if you know how to raise the frequency, cleanse the body, and do all this stuff. Because we are going through, in a future, once we release all the technologies, we already have a free technology. We already have a look into Dr. Raymond Rife machine. It's a documentary of that. Look into Tesla. Raymond Rife machine was that doctor discovered that you can kill any type of viruses and any type of cancer through frequency and sound. And it's shown on the video. And what did they do? Took everything from him and took all the information. And now they're releasing Rife machine frequency and healing stuff like this. And if you listen to the original documentary, right there in the original documentary, they said that when somebody wanted to buy it a long time ago from him, and I think the scientists were from Germany, some of the stuff weren't working because they changed the frequency on purpose. So that new machine that is coming, until somebody really make proper measurements through super scientists and physicists to see how everything works, I wouldn't trust every single frequency that is there. And I'm not trying to put anybody down. I just have to see it because of all the information that is done.
Didn't you say the same thing about, I think I heard on one of your videos, you were talking about light language and that you would want to test the frequency of light language before you trusted it or something to that?
No, because there are people that talk in a light language and I understand that. But my material and everything I do is backed up by science. And I don't care who is helping, because I had a scientist that said, how come this was given to you? Well, if that was given to you, would you believe it? No, you wouldn't believe it. Because I was never taught from the scientific structure here. What I was taught was from another structure. So what is the difference you study from some kind of a college here or me studying from benevolent extraterrestrial beings in higher consciousness? But I'm studying from different timeline of reality, which actually needed to happen because most of the information here was suppressed and was given only to certain groups of people. So this is the reason somebody needed to download the new informations that were coming so people start waking up. And a lot of scientists been start giving information. So if somebody comes and claims I know the language, I see the stuff, I cannot back you up with your information because I need to see complete proof with scientific protocol in order to say, yes, that is totally correct. Because when scientists that finally admitted, what it was, my material, they admitted it was real. And that's why I'm connected with physics group and I talk there. And I talk to a lot of scientists because the information that is happening, nobody says this is not true. The ones that say they don't want to admit it, or it's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So that's okay. I'm not about popularity. It's about the information to go out. Because in the end, what they told me, and I'm quoting, is not going to be about your popularity, fame, and glory and money. It's going to be about who did the right thing for humanity. And this is going to be the pillars of humanity that will gonna take the leadership and go forward with the extraterrestrial hands in hands. That is when it's gonna be the first wave.
Did that answer your question, Lisa?
Overwhelmed. I don't know.
Yeah, not really. I'm not sure.
Okay, the light language. It is a light language, and I'm sure some people talk about it, but I personally cannot claim that it is because I need backup with science proof. I need to measure it. I need to show to people the way if I say what I'm saying, you have quantum material that you can say, oh, yes, what she's saying, this totally makes sense. This is true because look at this structure and look at this structure.
I see.
So she's not saying that it's real or not real. She's just saying she doesn't have the quantum information to see it in her.
You're not validating any light language.
I know that when we talk about the Mayans the other day, I start saying some words that I don't know about it, but I don't know what I'm saying, or when I download portals, I can download portals. I talk in portals. Structures, and 3 people had an extraterrestrials experience at that time when they came in one of the webinars. But I trust my source and I trust what I'm doing.
Are you saying that while you were downloading the portals on a webinar, 3 people had ET experiences?
Yeah, the next day or the same night. But I think was in a dream state. Some will have a dream, some had almost like a real. I think it was 2 people. It was 2 people that told me about it.
Well, speaking of the Mayans, you're coming on the cruise in January. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And
yes.
All
information is in my website for the cruise. If you go under events, people can sign in if they still wish to.
Yeah. I know Brian's really excited to have his DNA activated.
Well, he already has. He already has. Yep. Just hold the light. That's all. That's all we need to do.
Yeah, and so just before we finish off, I was just curious if you had any information about the ancient structures around the world, and how they hold the different frequencies and tones and things like that when people get near them, they are affected by those frequencies and tones that are still there from the beginnings of when they were constructed.
They are based on a certain geometries and they're coded with a certain vibration. Yes, depending of where you're going, they're all interconnected and they all have these hidden messages of the truth left in there. And the proper people, depending on the situation, will be able to download the information. It's based on a frequency. So you may look at a material, for example, or a language that is Asian language and completely can download to you absolute information in your DNA without you realizing it, because you are vibrating in this particular frequency to get the information in.
Very cool. Well, we're excited to have you join us on the Mind Activation Tour in January. That's going to be a fun day.
Be interesting. Yes, fun day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Marina. I know you're tight on time. You just got so much going on. So we appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all your information with us. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Marina.
And for our listeners, if they want to find you, they can go to your website, marinajacobi.com.
And marinajacobi.com.
And your YouTube channel's The Harmonic Reactor?
Yes.
Great. Well, thanks so much. And to our audience, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask us, that you would like us to maybe ask a guest on the show, you can send that information into our email, info@enlightenup.us. And if you haven't already, check us out on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Oh, all right, everyone. Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll be back again with you next time.